On the 12th of September 1977, Steve Biko died in detention as a result of injuries inflicted by his jailers. The fury intensified throughout the country, and on the 19th of October 1977, the state decreed the suppression of the Christian Institute and 17 black community organizations, and banned a number of leaders, including Dr. Bayers Nodi. But it could not ban or suppress three important consequences of the black consciousness period. First, the unsuppressible growth of black community organizations. The turning point, I think, in the liberation struggle, the unsuppressible growth of black community organizations. Two, the exodus from the country of a considerable number of young people who met with the African National Congress in exile, which drafted a significant number of them into its armed wing, the Umkhonto Wesizwe. And on the part of the church structures, a growing sympathy for the youth rebellion. As the curtain came down on the black consciousness period, the scene was set for the third period, the revival of the African National Congress. I apologize already for not mentioning other liberation movements, but I think historically the ANC was the important one at this time. There were signs of its revival in the late 70s and early 80s as guerrillas broke into the country and carried out certain attacks, and as funerals were held for those who were killed or executed, and the numbers of those supporting them began to grow. Strains were telling too in the South African security forces, the war in Namibia, and the destabilization of neighboring countries. Then in 1983, Mr. P.W. Botha, the Prime Minister, put before the country a new constitution with satellite parliaments for Indian and colored people. You can imagine the agitation that came into existence then. It brought into existence the United Democratic Front, a great coalition of community organizations, and of course that constitution was condemned all round by liberals and Christian churches and other religious bodies. At this time, other liberation movements were active, but unfortunately there were divisions among them. We had the Inkatha Freedom Party, Pan-Africanist Congress, and AZAPO. But by and large, the civics, the community bodies in the townships, began to control the townships. At the end of 1984, police and troops were sent into Sebokeng in the Transvaal to control the agitation. As a result, violence rolled like a tidal wave around the country for over 2 years. It was a time of protests, demonstrations, and boycotts, of violent police repression and popular reactive violence, resulting in many deaths and injuries. Of funerals and memorial services that became occasions of political protest and further police repression. Of threats and sometimes the application of economic sanctions. Of loss of confidence in South Africa, leading to a dramatic drop in the value of the rand in August 1985. The unrest was accompanied by an increase of insurgency, guerrilla incidents, assassinations, skirmishes. The ANC threatened attacks on soft targets and the unleashing of a people's war. A further dimension of the violence was the outbreak of conflicts between the UDF and AZAPO in the Eastern Cape, sadly between Inkatha and UDF affiliates in Natal, and of attacks and counterattacks involving vigilantes. The gruesome spectre of necklacing made its appearance, and so did the mysterious and fearsome third force. We are hearing a great deal about its members and their activities in the sessions of the Truth and Reconciliation Commission. Church reactions. By now, Bishop Desmond Tutu was Secretary General of the South African Council of Churches and set out to exercise his powerful prophetic role, leading the Council into strong attitudes on population removals, the new constitution, support for black trade unions, the right of black workers, justifiable resistance to oppression, civil disobedience, a call for total comprehensive sanctions against South Africa, and the production of 3 documents giving unqualified support to the liberation movements: the Harare Declaration of 1985, the Kairos document of the same year, and the Lusaka Statement of 1986. After Bishop Tutu's election as Anglican Archbishop of Cape Town, he became the most forceful Christian voice in the last remaining years of the apartheid state. So church opposition to apartheid ended where it had begun, with the leadership of the Anglican Church.